Good morning and welcome to New York Viewpoint. I'm Ken Rosato. Today we bring you some of the great work being done by Planned Parenthood of New York City. We also have with us some innovative ideas from New York City outward bound schools that are having students lead the parent-teacher conferences. But first, Help USA is a national provider of homes, jobs, and services to homeless families, veterans, and victims of domestic violence. Founded by now Governor Andrew Cuomo in 1986. It served more than 300,000 people. And last year, they even ran after-school programs for over 2,000 kids. Joining us from in the studio, from Help USA are Dr. Tom Hamline. He's the president and CEO. Also, Francis Pierre, who's the senior vice president of Family and Daycare Services. And most important, shall we say, no offense to our other guests, but U.S. Army Private First Class Philip Harris, who is actually a true success story from Help USA. That's fantastic that you are here as a living example of what this program can do. Welcome to all of our guests.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's talk about the founding of the organization 3 decades ago. Talk about how it was founded, in great part to our now Governor of New York State.
Yes. Well, Andrew Cuomo was touring New York City in the late 80s, mid-80s, and saw that homeless families were at that time being housed on gym floors in the armories. And so he quickly started working and developing a new model that would build transitional housing for homeless families, where each family would have its own living unit and could provide and protect the sanctity of the family. And we opened our first facility for families in East New York, Brooklyn in 1986. And in the New York metro area since then, I've opened facilities in Suffolk County, in Westchester County, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, and in other cities across the country.
So there would be apartments, houses in some cases?
These are small apartments in New York City. In smaller towns, it might be standalone single-family units. But here it's multifamily residential. As you may know, New York City has a tremendous problem with homelessness. I checked the census this morning on the internet, and it's just about 53,000 people sleeping last night in New York City shelters. That includes 11,000 families and over 22,000 children who woke up this morning in shelters across the city.
And the problem is, I think too many people have a misconception of what a homeless family is. And it could be somebody who just lost their jobs a few months ago, and they have a family, and maybe they moved here from across the country. They don't have somebody they could rely on right here. Right. They're down and out right now, and they find themselves without a place to stay. I mean, this is all too real. Rent in New York City, a couple of grand a month. Right. What do you do? Where do you stay? And this is one of the realities, I'm sure, that you find yourselves with families looking for a place to stay.
Right. It's true. I mean, the best thing that we offer them is the ability to assess where they're at that moment and providing resources for them to transition into permanent housing. And that's what we're looking to do.
How, I can't even imagine, I can't even fathom how difficult it must be and how much stress a family must be going through by the time they come to you. Absolutely.
Obviously, shelter is the last resort, so this is not the place a family wants to end up.
So give me a typical example, say, and I'm sure it ranges so widely, but on a typical day, how many different families come for help?
Well, we serve a little less than 1,000 families currently. So depending on the need of Department of Homeless Services or HPD, which are folks that we're contracted with, they make the referrals to us. So we can get anywhere from 50 families coming in.
Wow. Now, Philip, tell me your story. How did everything happen in your life, and how did you find yourself in need?
Well, I'll try to make it quick and short.
This is your time.
It's basically in 2006, I had lost part of my finger, which and my family and I led to me depression. I didn't know how to handle it. Was going through financial, lost a job, and I was in Jersey, and I came to New York for the help, and I became homeless for basically about 3 years, whatever the case may be. And while I was there, I went to one of the programs and one of the vets programs, and they told me about Help USA. And I landed in Brooklyn, and the thing about it is that I would never think that I would ever be in Brooklyn, but I started with Help USA, and they placed me in a place in my family and whatever, and it was great. It was really great, and I've been there about 2 years now, and I really appreciate it because I made more out of it. And there, I'm helping a lot of other vets that Help USA has now come on board, and to help vets. I think it's about 2 years now that I've been there, and they've been on board as well, and I really appreciate it. And one of the things that happened to me while I was homeless was that I had 2008 while I was homeless. I had how do you say? I had started a job working, and after I lost the job, I was in a VA shelter at first, and they had an award. I'm a video photographer, and I had actually did an event with some of the vets that was homeless in the hospital. And in 2008, we won the award. And I came in first place in New Jersey, and over in the United States, third place with the video I did. It's called Homelessness. One guy had the song. I came up with the concept, and I made it. And just to help out others and let them see my story. So when I got to Help USA over in Brooklyn, I was showing it to the guys, and now they all come for me for help.
And there you go. That's amazing. So you know this industry then, in television and video.
Yes.
But the thing is, when you don't have a place to put your head down, and you don't have a shelter to keep your stuff, if you will, that becomes practically impossible. So that's why I'm sure that you must have felt a great amount of gratitude having this organization to help you out.
Most definitely. I mean, it was nowhere else to go. It was like my back was up against the wall, and I couldn't believe that they would just reach out the way they did. But I do appreciate it, because one thing about them is you can go anywhere almost in the world, and you find Help USA there.
Tell us about some of the programs to help folks transition back.
Yeah, one of the things we have, Ken, at the front door is homeless prevention programs. So we operate 2 programs funded by the Department of Homeless Services and 2 other programs funded by the VA, by the Veterans Administration. And so, in your example, somebody that comes to New York and has no place to live, we can work with them quickly to try and find an alternative to shelter. We also offer daycare programs for both homeless and low-income families, job training programs for homeless individual adults and adult family members. We operate a security training school licensed by New York State, culinary arts programs. We have urban gardens at our shelters. So we try and have a full array of services. A big service area for us has been working with the veterans, and we have veterans programs now in New York City, in Newark, New Jersey, in Philadelphia, in Las Vegas, and next year we'll be in the District of Columbia at Walter Reed, and maybe in Maryland the year after that.
That's amazing. Francis, we're unfortunately down to our last 30 seconds or so. Could you just, in terms of like daycare, as the doctor mentioned, daycare is a huge challenge, I'm sure, for, say, a mom who has a family who has the choice of, what do I do? I have to work and have kids. Just with our last 30 seconds, tell us about what, how you deal with the issue of daycare for these folks.
Well, understanding that these folks are in transitional housing, understanding that it's a sensitive issue when they come to our daycare, they don't know if they're going to be there tomorrow, and really providing the best service possible. We're licensed through ACS. We have competent workers that really are sensitive to the needs of the children that come into the shelter system. So it's a great program.
It sounds like an amazing program. And where else do people go? Thank goodness you guys exist. It's an amazing thing that you're there, and a blessing, I'm sure. An amazing blessing.
Thank you. And can I thank PFC Harris for joining us today?
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank y'all for being there for me.
Well, thanks.
Well, Dr. Tom Hamline, Francis Pierre, and PFC Philip Harris. It was wonderful to have you all on.
Thank you.
We're going to come right back with some of the great work being done by Planned Parenthood of New York City. Stay with us.